So we got Jupiter, the planet of expansion, wisdom, knowledge, learning, experiences, going into Taurus, all about stability, security, safety, values, and what you have to offer to the world. What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Dave B. You're watching Dave B on TV, where we go beyond the everyday bullshit that people be consuming on a day-to-day basis, and we're talking about Jupiter going into Taurus. So this is Jupiter sitting about 29 degrees at the moment, right? So Jupiter is pretty much wrapping up everything that has been needing to do in Aries. And I guess we could start there for the most part, because we're already experiencing kind of that cuspy energy where we're dealing with a planet right in between the two signs. So for the most part, this is a space in which things that were very much cardinal fire, like talking about Aries. So as far as experiences, we were needing to expand on our ability to kind of like get up, and it was more like I talked about Jupiter and Aries being like building courage, basically giving you the courage to get out into your experiences, and expanding the type of ways that require a little more risk taking, a little more passion, motivation, uh, intentional experiences, or being able to go through experiences again with that added courage, so that you could actually have the strength and willpower to kind of go through with whatever you started with. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times that be what gets a lot of people caught up, is that they don't have the actual courage to do what it is that they've been wanting to do, or what they claim to want to do. Is something inside of them that's keeping them away from that, and a lot of times that could be due to a lack of how to utilize Mars. Mars is actually for that. Mars is for bashing through things, taking things. You know what I'm saying? Taking what's yours. Mars isn't necessarily here for the justice. Mars ain't here for the good look. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not really here for all the flattery and all the things that come with kind of the pretty side of life. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times, Mars teaches us how to get up and fight for something, and we was trying to learn that. We were going through the experiences that required that type of energy as far as our approach to what we were experiencing. You know what I'm saying? If you weren't taking matters into your own hands and initiating a change of feeling, and that change of feeling contributing to you building the courage to go ahead and go through with something. Because like, you could look at cardinal fire as, see, cardinal fire is the spark. It's almost like the inspiration to do something. So that's really what that initiating a feeling or way to see something is all about. It's creating a instant image in your mind that can give you the quick burst of energy in order to say, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go. It's like that. It's literally that energy is saying, man, fuck it, I'm gonna just do it. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what that Aries energy represents, and having that go through Jupiter, it was putting us in experiences that kind of helped us expand through that. Now, if you were neglecting the transit and what I mean by that is, you were planting bad seeds due to you not doing what the energy was required for you to do, aka you weren't doing the energy in the time, and participating and going through experiences in alignment and going with the flow of the energy. You was trying to do some other shit. Maybe you had a Jupiter and Libra, for instance, and you were trying to go through your experiences still being more passive and trying to communicate and talk things out and thinking before acting and all that stuff. You might have again, you could have planted a lot of bad seeds where you might not have an adequate amount of wisdom on how to, because you got to think about Jupiter. Jupiter is both wisdom and knowledge, but what Jupiter teaches you is um, wisdom itself. The definition for it is like the application of knowledge. So it's like you can learn a bunch of stuff and build your mentality on something, but unless you know how to utilize what you know, it's useless, basically. So you could look at that as, if you were an individual who were still not participating in Jupiter Aries like energy, still being too timid, still not giving yourself the right image in your mind to derive the right motivation, passion, and inspiration for you to get up and just push through something. If you were still playing out energies that weren't really in alignment with that, the Aries energy, this could put you in a space where you might know, or it's like you have a lot of knowledge that's kind of like one ear in one ear, out the other one, where you don't actually know how to use this knowledge. So it's just kind of taking up space in your mind, and you're going to easily forget, because anything we don't put into practice, we soon forget. That's why practice a lot of times is key to do things, like the repetition of it, getting things in a routine and a routine and pattern. I can't talk today. Getting things in a routine and pattern are what really, builds things up, basically. So if you lack that consistency, and before we get into consistency is playing a part now. See, consistency is always important, because you can't really see growth in anything that you're not consistent with. And that's even way more prevalent, or I said prevalent, I could use that word, but I think I really meant relevant. It's a lot more relevant due to the fact that we've been actually going through a Taurus transit with the Sun in Taurus. That's what we've been paying attention to. So, and then along with that, we've had to deal with Uranus, where we're taking something that's very radical and unpredictable, and we are putting it in a sign of predictability. So we're learning our ways through these new changes, these new things that kind of crop up. We're learning in real time really what we're about. That's kind of what's happening in real time. We're experiencing things and having to stabilize them. Saying that's kind of like what Uranus and Taurus has been. It's taking all of our changes, but immediately as things crop up, we have to act on it, and then we have to adjust it and stabilize it. Right now, that's really what Taurus has been doing for Uranus. Now we're taking Jupiter, the planet of expansion, and we're bringing it into that. So everything I was saying about Jupiter and Aries, right? Learning how to utilize our wisdom when it comes to developing courage for our experiences. Like I was kind of describing it back when Jupiter was in Pisces going into Aries. Basically, you developing the right imagination for this new, and from that imagination, you had to come up with the perfect character. And this was you establishing for yourself, basically setting your, in a lot of times in the beginning of the game, right, when you design your character before you start a new mission, it'd be like a system where you give yourself attributes, right? And attributes be like skills. So you could give yourself, it give you a set amount of skill points to start with, and you basically are able to fill in whatever you want, based upon what storyline you agreed to go on. So this is like you as the player, right, in front of the video game, and you designing your character. Okay, you done chose the journey, or in your mind, right? Because you haven't played the game yet, but you read the box that the game came in, you read the description, you seen the trailer, so you like, okay, I get to play the journey how I want to play it. So Jupiter and Pisces was like, okay, this is how I want to play the game, right? So in Jupiter and Aries, we was coming to those kind of conclusions. I mean, Jupiter and Pisces, we was coming to those kind of conclusions based upon our imaginations and expanding that, and its proximity with Neptune, right? See, you got to keep in mind, like, this very well could be the same kind of dream that you had back then, like the dreams that we've been working on now, because we've been dealing with a lot of that Taurus energy, which has been making this dream that we actually planted the seed for back in Pisces season, or when Jupiter was in Pisces. That same seed now is something that we're putting into the ground, and we starting to see sprout. So, or we're going through the trials and tribulations of getting that seed in the ground, basically. That's kind of what Taurus season is. That's why it's kind of like, the action of digging. Like if you think of planting a seed ain't just throwing a seed on the ground and it's magically going to grow. No, it's like you got to dig a space for it. And that digging action was like Aries setting the tone, but still Taurus got to get his hands dirty and kind of make that space, position it correctly for how the seed can be placed. The Taurus aspect is knowing how many seeds finna be planted in a row, knowing how to organize the whole thing. And again, that's the visionary side of Taurus, where they're on one end, it's Aries, so it's the ability to kind of have that little foresight, to have that vision of how things could be aligned, and then have somewhat of a passion and motivation for whatever it is that they're trying to nurture or tend to, what I'm saying, like tending to a garden, having just the passion, or I say more so the vision the vision that can give them the inspiration to not be lazy and put some of that stable, consistent energy into something, and then the other end of it, Gemini, knowing how to move around it, knowing how it can move and how it can populate and germinate. Because really in Gemini season, that's like germination season. That's when you are taking all those ideas, the inspiration from Aries season that you grounded and made real into a seed that you can now plant into the minds of others. In Taurus, now in Gemini, you get to pollinate or germinate, take that seed and spread it, multiply it. Basically, everything that tree starting to sprout, you can start to take the mini. They might not be all ripe yet, because that's the thing about Gemini. It might be a half cooked idea. So you have to be careful and mindful of, okay, for Gemini, you know what I'm saying, these fruits that I've grown that just got planted in Taurus season, all of them aren't fit to necessarily be consumed yet. A lot of these are still not still ripening. You know what I'm saying? They still not to their fullest potential. So some of those ideas you have to sit with, and that becomes that becomes Cancer season, where you take those good ideas that still need a little more time, and you give them a lot more water. You know what I'm saying? Water, sun, and then boom, by the end of, or by the beginning of Leo season, you now have your full fruit, you know what I'm saying? Or you start to see it in Virgo season, because Virgo season is really in Virgo season, because Virgo season is really the harvest, where you're out there and you're now picking the fully ripened fruits and of your labor, and now you are setting the table. And it's really like a situation in which you could look at when you think of Virgo, good health and things of that nature, it's almost like good eats, you know what I'm saying, like really good fruits, helpful fruits, being of service. It's almost like the food that you've planted is now of service to your body. And if, again, you plant good fruits, you also feed your community, or you feed your relationships, you bring it home. Like, it's a lot of different analogies you can take with just the ways in which these planets move. But right now we're talking about just Jupiter and Taurus. I know I be expanding, I be going beyond shit. That's how I go, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, it's just Jupiter and Aries, going back to what I was saying about that inspiration, that courage. That's really what we've been needing to learn and experience, and the thing is, like, if you haven't been getting out there and experiencing, you're gonna lack either the knowledge or the wisdom on, okay, what should you be stabilizing, what should you be expanding on. Because here's the thing, our expansion is now shifting into us needing to expand on values. Now, expanding on our own values, this just means learning and having more wisdom about what it is that we value. So this could be this is a form of learning yourself. You know what I'm saying? Hold on real quick. You got people, hold on real quick. All right. They're rolling around in a little chair and stuff like that. I'm like, we in the parking lot, but I didn't like how she was rolling up. I'm like, hold on. Where you going? Had to make sure. But you know what I'm saying? Just weird stuff be happening and stuff. I don't know who's around me. You know what I'm saying? We in this dang parking lot. But for the most part, going back to what I was saying, so Jupiter and Aries, or Jupiter and Taurus is like us. So learning more about what we value. Also expanding on what we have to offer to the world. And a lot of this is like what I'm saying, right? Is like second house type things, but Taurus energy is like, you could look at it like expanding on your seed. So again, if Jupiter and Pisces was us deciding what kind of story what kind of journey we was about to go on. Aries gave us the willpower and the courage to go through with it, to commit to it. Now in Taurus, it's becoming real. It's becoming our reality, to the point where we have to know, we're in the process of grounding this journey, and not just grounding this journey, but we are setting ourselves, how do I put this? It's like it's almost like that part where you're training, you know what I'm saying? You getting your skills ready, basically. So it's expanding on the things that you value, expanding on your gifts, depending on what house this is going to be the type of things that you really expanding on. But for the most part, it's just expanding on things like it's expanding on things like consistency, expanding on things like loyalty, expanding on things like just making practical sense, like learning the practicality, the ins and outs, the reality of your situation, your circumstances, your experiences. So as so this is adding a whole nother layer as to how we can actually approach our goals. See, this year is like, again, that energy of the seven, giving us this direct correlation to whether or not you're going to tap into your higher self or just tap into your lower self based upon us going through those energies. We still talking about the eclipse right now. It's old energy. I'm not talking about the eclipse to keep bringing it back, but during that time, I'm really just not so much the eclipse, fuck the eclipse, but really the shift that happened, because the shift was you kind of making that first decision. You know what I'm saying? That first decision that's going to determine whether or not, hey, because the thing is, it's the year is just started. So you could start off needing to be on the end of manipulating, right? Because you feel like you ain't got it. You could be on the end where you're required to kind of go through more of that behind the scenes, more of that energy that is kind of looking like your lower self, but for the sake of you coming through with a flip on the other end. You know what I'm saying? Because the year is still early, and we are in different circumstances that require different things for us to do at the moment in time. You know what I'm saying? You might be going through something where it makes sense for you to be on that type of time, but at the same time, and then vice versa, you could be all up and up, but somewhere down the line, you overdraw your hand, and then all of a sudden now everything is crumbling, or you made a false step, or something happens that just kind of throw you back into, okay, needing to kind of get on demon time or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's many different. It's not all about like, oh, it's a constant building of things, right? But kind of bringing it back, talking about just Jupiter and Taurus. This is where right now at this moment in time we're grounding a lot of our wisdom and knowledge on things. We're grounding our understanding. We're expanding on again, consistency. You just want to make sure it's in the right area. That's basically the thing. Now, if you didn't lay the groundwork in Aries season while Jupiter was in Aries, you would still being timid. Again, this could lead you to kind of the negative side of Jupiter and Taurus, which could be expanding on the wrong types of pleasures. Expanding on something that makes it look like you're stubborn, something that makes it look like you still ain't learned your lesson. Again, if you didn't learn the proper things that you needed to learn in Aries by getting out there and doing it, you're not going to really know the wise decisions to make as you're trying to ground and get a feel for the reality. See, this is also expanding on our senses. So we could be, we again, we needed to have gotten out there and getting our hands dirty. Now it's going to be even more important for us to keep track of what we're sensing. And I mean, like, it could be physically, but again, and what I mean by physically in experiences, like when you're going through these experiences, you really got to start to understand the practicality and the functions of them. Now, this can be tricky because now we're talking about Jupiter also meaning faith. So our faith and our what we like to like our moral system, what drives our morality. These types of things can be placed in the wrong areas based upon them being too material like. Saying you got Jupiter and Earth, now you putting faith in maybe what you've accumulated or what's in the physical reality, and see that could lead you on the negative end of things, of you thinking that somehow your material wealth is what. But see, that's the thing, we all gonna want to experience security. We're all gonna want to experience a situation in which we can feel comfortable, in that we can feel secure. So the whole idea is, don't get tricked and lose faith and develop self-doubt based upon what you might not have material wise. This might be you needing to have faith in your ability to gain a material based upon your gift. This might be you needing to have faith without seeing the material at the moment, or this could be anything that you have manifested for yourself material, you being able to take that and again, it's like, don't get lost in trying to use that to prove that, oh, I'm manifesting the right things, because just because you have a bunch of material things, you could very well manifest a bunch of stuff It's almost like the more stuff you have, the more weight that's on you, the more things you're responsible for. So you could think that you free by having a whole lot of things in your name, but a whole time you actually are playing out the energy of the opposite. You always got to be somewhere at a certain time based upon how much money you making, and you wasn't aware of that when you was trying to hustle and make the money. But you created a situation or a scenario in which, because of that blind spot, it's not really a heaven all the time. It turns into a hell over time. And anything we do over and over again eventually becomes tired and played out. And we want to switch it up and do something new. So, if you, and that's the thing about all that earth energy, you could build up so many restrictions or heavy things on your, things that you're now responsible for based upon just what you thought you was expanding in. So that's just something to be aware of. But for the most part, this Jupiter and Aries transit, like, this is expanding on these types of things. So there's many different angles in which these things could play out. But see, Jupiter is going to meet with first Mercury. So this is expanding the things on our mind. So our ideas of security and safety, again, that might drive you to do very negative things in your lower natures for the sake of feeling like you don't have enough. Or it can inspire you to start to if you have good, positive, beneficial ideas on your mind, prosperous ones, this could actually help you expand on some of these things and have a way more intelligent way of either communicating about your wisdom, what you know, or this is, and like, this is powerful energy if you have been planting the right seeds. Because if you have been getting your hands dirty with Jupiter and Aries, you're gonna know so much that you're gonna have things to actually expand on, as far as you're going to be able to expand way more, way broader with your wisdom and knowledge on your values. You're going to be able to expand way more, because it's really like you could take, because we're talking about Jupiter, so this is experiences that you carry with you. This is going to be like your experiences really could make you rich at the moment, just based upon what you know and able to articulate from everything that you've accumulated as far as your, what you've been through. So if you have some kind of creative outlet, this is very powerful. Jupiter is going to sextile Saturn, so this is opportunities for you to build on what you know. Grounding, like, basically look at Saturn as your dreams that you're trying to build, but now Saturn actually has wisdom and knowledge, real actual evidence, real wisdom, real experiences that it can put behind what it's trying to structure for itself, and it can have communication with Neptune to make it highly imaginative. Like, this is a very creative time to make money at the moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are like, I ain't gonna lie, Jupiter and Taurus is kind of looking like that time where, like, really, like, you could really make some money. And see, ironically, they got a lot of people, thinking in terms of recession. So this is how, you know, this is how you get reverse psychology used on you, where, because the shadow government and the people behind the scenes, the individuals, the beings behind the scenes, because they understand astrology, this is how they use it against you. And in a way that you don't need to turn around and get mad. It's just get wise and understand. Like, spiritual warfare is way deeper than you just getting mad at a governmental body. A lot of times people are caught up in the conspiracy but lack the awareness of the spiritual warfare going on. Spiritual warfare, you got to understand things as a spirit. It's not about trying to get revenge and trying to conquer this and conquer that. It's being wise enough to understand the game. You know what I'm saying? And once you understand the game being played, you're able to play a lot cleaner, aka lighter, a lot more intelligent. See, all you got to do is understand, hey, that's what they trying to get me to think and focus on. But I control my mind. I got the power with what my mind is on. And I know the transits and I know the energies that they use, and the same tools they got access to, I got access to. And I understand that if I use these tools properly, I can achieve or manifest anything that I got my mind on. So this is how you use your intelligence or your actual superpowers to fight this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because I say superpowers, and you might think it's me making a joke or something like that. Me trying to taking you to kitty land. But it's like, I say superpower because it's truly that. But getting back to what I was saying though, so when we talk about Jupiter in Aries, right? Or no, Jupiter in Taurus, this is a chance, a opportunity really to really ground ourselves, ground what we know. And if you've been planting the right seeds with Jupiter and Aries, you've learned a lot of very powerful things about yourself. Again, Aries, identity. You've learned very key things about your core identity. You should know yourself now. And like we always, like, again, knowing yourself is an ongoing process because we're always expanding and contracting. Expansion, we going through new things and we're learning new things about ourselves as we experience new things. Because you can't, it's like you can think you know who you are, but you don't really know who you are until the next experience shows you, until the next thing comes up that you go through. Everything that you go through becomes an accumulation. This is why, like, even like, this is why people are complex, because who you knew 5 minutes ago might not be the same person that's standing right in front of you. And all of that is internal and individual into each you know what I'm saying, specific to each individual, because we all going through different things, even though we all might be experiencing or having a shared experience. In a shared experience, a person right next to you could have a totally different perspective. Therefore, what they derive as meanings and reasonings for what went down and how it went down and what it meant and what it actually was and what they, all of that is different. And this is how you get Sagittarius energy, Jupiter, and even Pisces, mutable fire and water, mutable fire, different ways of seeing something, seeing and feeling about things. Seeing and feeling literally is meaning. What you derive as meaning is a direct result of what you saw and felt about it, because that is subjective. You feel me? Like, facts and logic, that's more Mercury based. So that's more like what we can see as results. How you feel about it, the meaning, the wisdom you derive from it, purely subjective, because it's more based on your individual perspective and how you felt. And then even on the Pisces end, feeling and dealing with emotions, both internal, both have to deal with deriving something from an experience and reacting to it. And then also trying to understand, again, adaptable and changeable to other people's ways of feeling about it. So not only my feelings, but y'all feelings. And if everything is subjective, that's a lot of subjectivity to work with. Because I can have a subjective, again, I can have a feeling, I can have a meaning and reasoning based upon what I think you feel. But I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like that, you see where it gets crazy. That's why Pisces be crazy, because that's a crazy concept. You know what I'm saying? To build subjectivity off of something that's subjective. It's one thing to build subjectivity off of something that we can see, or like something that actually happens, something that actually is in reality, that's external, Sagittarius. But it's another thing to create more subjectivity off of something that's subjective. I have a opinion or a meaning and reasoning for why everybody in the room might feel this way. But even again, I mean, I can't explain it any further than that. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? This is where you get yourself into la la land. This is where you put yourself into situations in which, yeah, you thought it was this way based upon how you felt, but the reality of it was a different way, right? But this is where Jupiter and Taurus can be a little, um, interesting, you know what I'm saying? Because we're deriving meaning and reasonings now from material things and things in reality. So this could help you or hurt you, but it can help you in a way of being able to derive meaning and reasonings related to what is actually going on in reality in the direct results. So your consistency, it's almost like you can have more awareness of what to be consistent on. Now, if you're just being stubborn, again, that's another way it can benefit you, because it can give you a direct line or understanding, or help you derive the meaning and reason of what's not working. You know what I'm saying? Where you might be, where the quality might be lacking. Because this is the thing, Jupiter in Taurus is about upping the quality of our experiences. And in order to do that, we have to take what we had courage to do. And now we have a lot of wisdom and knowledge about ourselves, our identity. Now we have to take that and we have to polish it. So you have to, again, this is a time where you could really be learning. And like, this is a very heavy just learning the ins and outs of whatever it is that you are doing and what you claim to offer to the world. That's why I said it's a time to really make money, just because it can give you the right. Again, it's expanding on how to get stable, and it's going to have conversations. Jupiter is going to have a conversation with Mercury, so it's that mental clarity and ability to expand on what's on our mind. So hopefully, what's on your mind is something that's actually valuable. Next part, Jupiter is going to start to talk to Uranus. So this is expanding on changes. So if these changes that you've been making are truly in alignment with, your individual way of how you need to get stability in these times, how you need to get secure, and it's been correlated to your individual value system and what you are choosing to build for yourself as a foundation, right? This is going to give you a boost, extreme energy in which you can expand on this change, and you can expand on individuality, and it can look like $1 million. It can look like something that's prosperous as long as it's consistent in the proper areas. But if it's lacking true value, if it's lacking quality, this is where people are just gonna see, oh, this person's stubborn, they still doing the same bullshit, I'm not buying it. You know what I'm saying, that's the risk you run, um, that we all run, based upon what we're doing on a day-to-day basis, because it's just how it goes. You know what I'm saying? Everything is, we're experiencing it in real time. So and then also the North Node, it's going to see the North Node before it see Mercury and before it see Uranus. So Jupiter talking to the North Node, or correlated with this is expanding on your spiritual path. So your spiritual path gonna feel real now, like real, extremely real. And our spiritual path is shifted into Aries. So that's a whole nother video. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna have the south node, no, north node going into Aries, south node going into Libra, and then we're gonna have the Pluto retrograde video. And I think that's it. I think those are the two ones I want to do next. And oh yeah, Venus and Cancer. Venus and Cancer. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. So that's what we kind of did. That's the type of shit we dealing with right now. What was I just saying? I kind of lost my train of thought. But for the most part, that's kind of how it's going right now. We are going through those. Yeah, everything's about to get real. So as we going through these experiences, that's what we're gonna see. So it's gonna Jupiter next to the North Node, expanding on our spiritual path, or learning about what it's gonna take to actually get there. Now, it's like you don't want to stay learning. Like right now is the time to actually get active. The best way to learn is to experience, because it's a win-win. You know what I'm saying? You get to go through it and make progress within that, and you get to learn firsthand wisdom and knowledge on what it is that you're doing. So, um, yeah, but and all that being said, it's not going to be easy, because that's a lot of energy still in Taurus. You know what I'm saying? We got Jupiter, Mercury, Uranus, North Node, and something else in there. That might be it. But that's a lot of energy, and it's a lot of long-term energy. You know what I'm saying? Everything is starting to seem long-term. Like people, you probably going to start thinking long-term now. Like, where's all this leading to? You know what I'm saying? Long-term, and what can actually give me longevity. I got to see where Juno is at. But because that the Juno is the asteroid of longevity, and it's the type of things that we are looking at, that we want to marry in a metaphorical sense, or some people look at it for marriage and stuff like that, like your Juno synastry. But that's one aspect. But yeah, and then also when we look at Jupiter and Taurus, it's gonna be sextiling Mars and Venus for a while, for a little bit. Um, Again, with Venus, because Mars is on its way out, so it might miss Mars. It's probably gonna miss Mars. That's another one I got to do. Mars and Leo. That's gonna be cool. But Jupiter. Oh yeah, Jupiter sextile and Venus. You know, form of expanding on values. This could be you again, the other side of Jupiter, indulging, indulging in physical, sensual pleasures. So, you know, this could lead to some form of addiction. Again, addiction you can almost look at as a form of stubbornness. You know what I'm saying? You still trying to get that high that you chasing. You know what I'm saying? And you just can't let that go. So, be aware of that, because that's a very well that's a thing that could play out, especially if these times are traumatic and very turbulent for you, because there's a lot of turbulence just built up based upon uh, what's going on, the ways in which we're having to shift, the things we're experiencing and what we're going through. So, and this is going to be, especially Jupiter expanding on, getting close to Uranus, like just making things, more radical, and us seeing that. It's also going to kind of slow our experiences down a little bit so we can, you know, start to calculate, but it's still going to have to be us knowing where we want to place our energy, and being intentional. But for the most part, like I was saying, there's just, we might be prone to overindulge into forms of pleasure, into forms of, and Venus being in Cancer, this is in an area in which we want to feel comfortable. So if things are going crazy for you and you are allowing the negative thoughts to kind of take over where your mind is, and again, you leaning more into your lower natures and stuff like that, your lower self, that what's going to end up happening is you're going to try to revert to old pleasure that makes you feel extremely comfortable, and you're going to overindulge in that space. It's okay to and it's okay to participate in pleasures and things that make us comfortable, but it's about again, Jupiter goes to extremes, so overindulging based upon you feeling like you just can't get a grip on reality. And that's always a tragedy to see, because it's just like, damn, you know what I'm saying, it's unfortunate when people get lost in their pleasures, because that's like, again, that's just, like, you ever seen the addict, like that shit be, it be like, what I'm saying, people make jokes and stuff like that about crackheads and stuff like that, and like, it should be, do you be funny. I mean, you get some good spirited crackheads every now and then, but a person really struggling with a drug addiction, that shit tough, what I'm saying, or any kind of addiction, because it's just like, it really is some mental thing, a mental illness that then developed and then calcified, itself into your mind, so it becomes a type of demon you can't really, you stay trying to get off your shoulder. And, what I'm saying, it's like, it's certain demons that do attach themselves to folks, and like, that's a hard one, addiction, what I'm saying, especially depending on the type of person you are, because see, some people, like, you can get people who can dabble in certain things but can handle it, what I'm saying, to the point where they don't depend on it, even though they might do it more like real frequent, they still can manage it, what I'm saying. But then there's just other people who just can't manage it, and that, they got a hold of that demon, got a hold of them. um, and it's just unfortunate, because you waste so much time, what I'm saying, like any addiction, you got to really understand things too, like, look at yourself and understand, like, the different habits that you partake in, because, not to make it too PSA, like, but it just some real shit. It's like, so much of your time can go to a habit. So this is why it's key to develop better habits based upon intention and what you're trying to actually do for yourself in life, because this life can trick you basically whenever you get comfortable. Life could trick you. You start thinking like, oh, I'm gonna be this age forever, or you don't think that. And it's funny, because like, parents will say that shit, or older folks, OGs will say that shit, like, oh, like, what I'm saying, you ain't gonna be that age forever, but it's real shit. Like, life is long and short at the same time. You know what I'm saying? It's like short because it can end at any moment, but it's the longest thing you'll ever do. So, there's a form, you gotta take your life a certain level of seriousness with your life, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you also have to know how to ease up and just let life be sometimes, and let yourself be, and give yourself the grace of just being every now and then, because you can't really control you can't control shit but yourself. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's just like, and that's the thing, self-control. And that's what the world is lacking, especially in this age of Aquarius. I feel like age of Aquarius is also is highlighting that aspect too, control and the lack thereof. We need a form of discipline. And see, a lot of these children are being raised in a time where it's just so much stimulation. You know what I'm saying? Like a child would be stimulated 24 hours out the day, and they brain ain't even fully developed. You feel me? So but I still feel at the same time, because I think to how, like, the nature of things, right? Because the funny thing is like, you would think, like, certain things freak people out. People like, oh shit, like, you know, so specifically like children and technology and stuff like that. And like, yeah, nah, that shit ain't healthy. But you know, I don't know. It's a thing where it's like, because it really depends. You got to know your your you got to know yourself, because based upon yourself will determine the type of child you have. Because as spirits, we pick who we gonna be born through, based upon what they was agreeing on as thoughts and feelings. The two individuals who created the child. So as the parent, you got to know yourself, and it's spiritual shit. So even if it's a situation where it's not your child, but you in this child's life, because I don't think people acknowledge that as well. Because again, it might not be biologically through you, but y'all spirits somehow formulated and got linked up, and now you have an impact on each other's lives. So all forms of that, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you have to know yourself to understand what kind of it's almost like knowing your through astrology. First house going into the second house, like, you got to know yourself to know the type of seed that you planted. Basically, if you're looking at the child as the seed, and then from that, it's almost like a situation where it's like, you know your seed, so you know yourself, so you know your seed, and so you can kind of from there gauge what's necessary and what's not. Because it's like, you as, like, what I'm saying, as parents, like, you're not going to it's like, it's really like, you're not gonna know anything other than what you know, and what you know is what you're gonna give to your children. So it's like, that's why even my point before getting into this, and like, I don't really even got no point. I guess my point is just to open up the idea for you to kind of take that where you need to take it. It's just, again, it refers back to what I was saying, even about like understanding your own habits and what you spend so much of your time doing. Because it's like, we all got the same 24 hours, but what we do with those 24 hours is very unique. And you'll start to see the results of people's lives and why they live certain ways based upon what they do with their 24. Some people use their 24 for bullshit, some people don't, and you see a direct correlation to the quality of their life. Now when you have children, I don't even know how I got on that tangent, but it's like, based upon how you conduct your 24, your child is with you. So, or they're not. But you got to consider your child's 24. Getting into the other point, because I know that's what I was. I was talking about technology and kids, and in this new age of kids that's coming up just with so much stimulation. It's like, at the same time, you got to understand the times we in. Like, don't get it so twisted that you hinder your child based upon you trying to raise them because of what you know. It's a balance, because you can't just, you know what I'm saying, you gotta give them what you know. But at the same time, it's like, I sometimes I play devil's advocate, and I be like, well, think of a child who might be sheltered from using certain technologies, and they end up becoming way less advanced than every other child, or just way behind. See, And this is where it goes into knowing yourself and knowing your seed, because you got to know your child and kind of have that ability to kind of know, well, I can handle certain things. Now, your child might not be able to handle the same things you handle. That's not what I'm saying, but I don't know. It's no manual to stuff. So sometimes it's experiences, and I don't even want to get too much in this topic because I ain't the person to talk about this. I'm just expressing an idea of or perspective on it, like or opening up the dialogue for it, something to explore later on. That ain't even the point of this video, but something to explore later on, because there's many different ways you can see it, because you can see the benefits in that, but you can also see the downfalls in that. So maybe we need to have an open discussion about that shit. And really, that's the type of shit we gonna have panels on, like just with 717, like these conferences that me and my girl putting together, like me and Free putting together. We putting together these experiences for individuals to come in, spiritual minds, you know what I'm saying, or spiritual minds, but spiritual individuals, people on a path, and people who really strong mentalities, bringing them together so we can have discussions about different ways to do things. And this is a form of building that we are doing, you know what I'm saying. It's a form of building, but making it more real and community based, because that's the whole thing too. See, Jupiter is important here because, see, everything we're doing in Taurus is really getting ourselves together so that we can associate more properly, so that we can associate ourselves and get locked in the right way. And what I say with that is because the 11th house and the second house make a square, and it's about learning. And what we learn in the second house is about value, right? The value of ourselves. So we understand the crowds we belong in and what we can potentially contribute to those people, But it's a learning process. It creates friction because not everybody wants what you have, and you might price your things at a certain price amount, and the people you're associating with can't afford that. And so it's different things, and it's like you're determining whether or not you even belong in that scenario, if you need to up the price or lower the price, or change the friends, you know what I'm saying, or change the associates. I won't say not friends, but change the associates. Learning how to even associate your value, learning how to organize your value, you know what I'm saying. But so right now, everything we learning in Taurus is key, because this is how we're developing our self-esteem, and that's going to determine, how you approach your status, and how you utilize your gifts to contribute to the community. You know what I'm saying? But we that's where we leaning towards, because we, again, uh, being on your own at this time just isn't sufficient. Thinking of only you and your family, it's good, but it's not enough. It's like we need communities, we need multiple families, and we need to be each other's family. You know what I'm saying? It needs to be community type things, and we need to, when it comes to even, finances, investing in certain things as a team. And it's deep shit, because it's so many other factors that go into this. But this is where, again, 7, this is where, almost like, I feel like this came up before, but haves and have nots. You know what I'm saying? We gotta start to differentiate between who's in their higher self, who's in their lower self too. Who belong on this side, who belong on that side, and not for the sake of division, but for the sake of community and organization. You know what I'm saying? And all that jazz. But yeah, that's kind of like that Jupiter and Taurus energy. You know what I'm saying? Expanding on our own values. It's gonna be a lot of just tapping in. But like I said, there's a lot of money to be made based upon how unique you can be and how grounded you can get with these things that you've learned after this Aries, Jupiter and Aries transit. So anyway, much love, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.